Wartales is a turn-based strategy game with a focus on mercenary company management, set in a low fantasy world. This is Clyde and Fair. Let's talk about Wartales 10 Tips and Tricks Edition. Tip number 1, career plans. I know everyone and their mother has talked about this at some point, but it truly is the most important thing to invest in early on. So career plans you will find in your knowledge compendium for a price of 2 knowledge points, and it is very important to get. I would even go as far as saying to not invest any of your aptitude points that you unlock by leveling up your units until you have career plans unlocked in your knowledge tree, because career plans allows you, the player, to select and max roll your attribute allocations on level up. So the earlier you get it, the stronger your units will be come late game. Tip number 2, movement is king. Enemies have limited movement range that slowly scales up over the course of the game. Having the ability to simply avoid damage entirely by being outside of an enemy's range pays off dividends very quickly, as units can safely dispatch enemies, and you will not need to waste as many resources to repair armor or heal injuries. My personal preference is to have 16 to 18 movement on all of my units. Sometimes I'll opt for even more movement if I'm using a very small party size. Tip number 3, capture outlaw faction units while exploring or doing missions to create an additional income stream. Be warned, prisoners will add to your food costs per rest. These prisoners can also be assigned to professions to help with crafting or assigned camp items for additional bonuses. I recommend assigning a prisoner to your cooking pot to help alleviate additional food costs for your rests. Prisoners that are outlawed can be turned in at any jail of any region for a bounty. Please note that the higher level the prisoner, the more crowns you will receive upon turning them in. Tip number 4, when exploring the Tiltron Lumber Mill, you can unlock a new place to turn in prisoners for crowns, influence, and wood. You need to capture refugee units wandering along the roads in Tiltron and bring them to the lumber mill to unlock this feature, after releasing prisoners who are trapped in the basement. This may cause you to have some moral dilemmas, but it will unlock an extra layer of money generation as well as influence generation in the game. Tip number 5. If you're having troubles searching for interactables and points of interest, hold down your left Alt key. This will create a very thin outline on everything that can be interacted with. The next layer to this is that you can actually change the outline's color and thickness by going into your options menu and following these steps. Personally, I set mine to being a very obnoxiously bright blue and increase the thickness quite a bit because I am blind, but now whenever I hold down my left Alt key, I can see everything. Tip number 6, if you find yourself getting absolutely bodied by enemies, take a look at your gear. Units and gear both gain stats as their levels increase, and these stats are increased on an exponential curve. Odds are that your difficulty spike is actually caused by a combination of your units leveling up and not having gear to compensate for the added stats that enemies now have. Fear not, because you can utilize crafted gear in a pinch if you've got a unit or two that feel underwhelming to increase their stats. Tip number 7, you can have multiple professions on a unit, and a unit will retain all acquired levels in a profession when the profession changes. This is really helpful with smaller party sizes when you don't have at least one unit for every profession available. For example, you can have a miner that also is your blacksmith. I don't recommend having every single one of your units bouncing back and forth between professions, because having a higher leveled profession on your unit gives you more stats as well as access to better perks on that profession, whether it be better recipes for crafting or the ability to get higher end resources from gathering. Due to this, I actually find it best to have a singular crafting unit, such as a cook that also is a blacksmith and is also an alchemist, especially early game when I don't have enough units to fully flesh out a profession for every unit. And this allows me to essentially bulk up on crafting materials and then grind out the next level on professions. That way I don't waste any of that very, very important profession experience. Tip number 8, golden border bounties on the bounty boards are noted as community bounties. They are challenging fights that offer some of the best weapons in the game that can be leveled up at a Brotherhood training grounds in exchange for crowns. Note, these weapons will have the same stats as a rare weapon, but will be upgradable similar to a legendary purple weapon. Tip number 9, the Brotherhood training grounds offers skill books for starting skills such as taunt, first aid, and aim, and upon leveling up your power and glory path tree to level 4, the training grounds will begin offering skill mastery books, which give powerful upgrades to your class skills. Tip number 10, if you find yourself having issues with cursed village fights, quickly position yourself into a corner and utilize any available units to find a way out while utilizing your backline units to use first aid to remove poison stacks on the frontliners. This works really well if your backline units have valor support to help generate extra valor points while standing next to a friendly unit. Note, using find a way out multiple times in a round will provide diminishing returns. It's probably best practice to only utilize it 3 or 4 times max in a round. Another note, swordsman based tanks with hardcore training or just poison immunity make cursed village fights so much easier because you don't have to worry about constantly first aiding away poison stacks. Bonus tip and trick, utilize special foods for major boosts to your combat and in campaign endeavors. For example, the recipe for culture shock, which is a purple food item, is available in the Tiltron bar, and it reduces the rate that you acquire fatigue while traveling around the world, and it increases your unit's strength by 20%. This essentially reduces the amount of times you will need to rest if you consistently eat this food, which saves you both money and food in the long run, as well as giving all of your strength units more damage and all of your dexterity based units more critical damage. I want to thank you all for watching this video, and if you found this information helpful, don't forget to like the video, make that number go up, and let me know what your favorite beginner friendly tip and or trick is in the comment section below. And until next time, have a good one.